My name is Ryan Fisher. I'm an investigative journalist and explorer, and I'm applying the tools of my trade to all things Nephite. I'm launching into a series of investigations into Nephite archaeology, scriptural history, and prophecies about latter-day America. This is Nephite Explorer.
I'm here in this amazing landscape near St. George, hiking to a place where there's a set of petroglyph panels. Now, petroglyph panels are all over the rocks in this area, but there's something special about the ones we're visiting, something that may connect these panels to the Book of Mormon. You see, at certain times of the year, like right now, at sunrise specifically, something amazing happens. These panels interact with light and shadow to create a story, tell a story that may be from the Book of Mormon.
A few years ago, a Nephite Explorer viewer contacted me and told me about a man who had spent much of the last decade staring at some rocks in the desert. She said he believes he found some petroglyphs that describe specific events in the Book of Mormon and arranged for us to meet. I was skeptical at first, but I traveled to southern Utah anyways. Not only did the petroglyph panels he showed me capture my interest, they fascinated me to the point that I began joining him in staring at these rocks every chance I got. I've been doing so now for 3 years, and we've gathered enough research to present some findings. Joining me in this effort are two of my kids, Scout and Foraker, who have also become captivated by these panels and volunteered as cameramen and Sherpas.
What'd you find?
I found some of these swirly thingies.
Swirly thingies.
Time coils, maybe?
Yeah, those are time coils. Nice.
There you
Now I'm hiking to a place called Anasazi Ridge, just west of Santa Clara near St. George, Utah. I'm coming to film these petroglyph panels that are here. I've been doing so for the last 3 years because at certain times of the year, something amazing happens. Something that may connect these panels or the people that created these to the Book of Mormon.
It's easy to find our guide as he has been coming to the same place on this date, December 21st, for almost 10 years.
Hi, Ryan.
Howdy.
Paul Taylor has devoted much of the last decade to deciphering ancient petroglyphs in this area, left here by people 2,000 years ago.
Scout, how you doing there, beautiful? See, you brought your brother with you. That's good. How you doing this morning?
We're good. How are you? Still staring at the rocks?
Yes.
While studying a set of panels here overlooking the Santa Clara River, he discovered something remarkable. He found that on the summer solstice, lights appear on the rocks. But what do these shafts of light mean, and what do they tell us about the figures carved into these rocks? That's what Paul Taylor set out to figure out. Paul has spent much of his life among the native tribes of the West, learning about their customs and rituals, which have helped him to understand the ancient sign language used by native tribes before Europeans arrived. With the help of many others, researchers have used knowledge of native sign language used to trade between tribes to create a codex for deciphering petroglyphs. Paul has been applying this codex to these panels near Santa Clara, Utah, and discovered something unexpected. Here on the ridge there are 6 panels with names that describe what they depict. There's the Ascension panel, the Hero Shaman, the Bear Shaman, the Baby Shaman, the Sheep panel, and a marker stone. There is a lot of imagery going on with these panels. There are not only very detailed carvings, but they interact with the sun and moon at certain times of the year to tell a story. Paul explains that he's found that at least 6 of these panels are all part of one story, a story about a man who is called the Flying Serpent.
The whole thing is basically a a book about his ascension. This guy's here's ascension. It's a Quetzalcoatl design again. You know, Quetzalcoatl is when he's in human form.
Okay.
When you see in Mexico, when you see him in human form, he's clubfoot. And we don't really know why, but he's called Clubfoot, the Clubfoot warrior and things like that. So to see him ascending as a flying serpent, and then in Mexico you see him ascending as a flying serpent, and then to see him pictured as a clubfoot shaman here, and in Mexico he's pictured as a clubfoot shaman. He's Quetzalcoatl, that's who he is.
Yeah.
You know, he's basically Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl is best known as a deity professed by the indigenous people of Mesoamerica. To the Aztecs anciently, Quetzalcoatl means feathered serpent, a flying reptile much like a dragon who is an intermediary between earth and sky. He is also a creator deity responsible for the creation of mankind. According to the Mayans, Quetzalcoatl was born by a virgin who was visited by a heavenly messenger. He was known as the inventor of books and the calendar, the giver of corn to mankind, and sometimes as a symbol of death and resurrection. These attributes of this god has led to the belief that Quetzalcoatl may be in fact Jesus Christ, and that the legends of him are the result of Christ visiting peoples all over the world shortly after his resurrection, as described in the Book of Mormon. These parallels didn't escape the notice of early members of the church either. John Taylor once wrote, "The story and life of the Mexican divinity Quetzalcoatl closely resembles that of the Savior. So closely indeed that we can come to no other conclusion than that Quetzalcoatl and Christ are the same being. But the history of the former has been handed down to us through an impure Lamanitish source, which has sadly disfigured and perverted the original incidents and teachings of the Savior's life and ministry." The Book of Mormon states that Christ visited other sheep, as he called them, or other people around the world shortly after his resurrection. The Nephites gathered at Bountiful were some of those other sheep, but not the only ones. Archaeologists have determined that the worship of a feathered serpent began in Teotihuacan somewhere between the 1st century BC and the 1st century AD. This fits the Book of Mormon account, which puts the appearance of Christ around 35 AD. Critics argue that the direct parallels between the Mesoamerican deity and Jesus Christ are simply the result of mixing the old religion with modern Christianity when it was brought to Mesoamerica in the 17th century. Much like Christmas today is a mixture of pagan rituals that have adopted Christian themes. If these panels here near Santa Clara, Utah, which predate European contact and are from a North American people, do in fact depict Quetzalcoatl, they may be able to solve the mystery of the feathered serpent, and if he is, in fact, Jesus Christ. Fortunately, here at Anasazi Ridge, there are several panels that appear to all be telling a story about Quetzalcoatl. Panels that are all tied together.
And he's pictured again. He's Quetzalcoatl throughout this. This is not different people. This is the same person.
Right.
Because there he's got a Kachina life belt on. Over there he's got a Kachina life belt on. Over there he's got a Kachina life belt on. So it's all the same person. It's the same story. That's why the lights jump from this point to this point. You can't read the book without watching the light jump from page to page to page. You know, you need to look at that one in context with that one, in context with that one, because it's all the story of that shaman right there.
To understand how the light interacts with these panels, a small group of us set out to film them using time-lapse cameras. To do so, we need to hike out to the site before sunrise to get the cameras set up.
Scout. Tired?
My first trip to Anasazi Ridge was on the summer solstice, but cloud cover that day prevented the show from happening. We had to wait a whole year before we could try again.
June 21st, we're giving this another stab to try and get the astronomical alignments. It's 3 a.m. and it feels like it.
While observing the rocks at night, Paul had noticed what appeared to be a constellation packed into the Bear Shaman rock. So I set up some astrophotography equipment and got this shot, verifying that the creators of this panel wanted the timing to align with the rise of this constellation. Likewise, on the Ascension panel, the flying serpent ascends into the planet Mercury, which can be seen rising at dawn on the summer solstice. Quetzalcoatl in Mesoamerica is also connected to the ascension of a planet. In their case, Venus is the most prominent. Next, we need to set up for our sunrise shots. We need to coordinate our cameras so they are all rolling at the same time at different panels. Paul has recorded detailed times for certain light shows, but hasn't been able to see them all at once. That's why we're attempting to film them simultaneously.
These two go off first.
No, these two go off later.
Later.
Yeah.
That's off first.
That one over there goes off first.
Okay.
And it'll go off, it'll start about 8:35.
All right, I'll set up my two cameras on both the Bear Shaman and the River Shaman panels, and I'll just leave those rolling.
Okay.
We get all our cameras set up and synchronized to shoot the light show on all the panels simultaneously, so that as the light jumps from one panel to the next, we'll capture it.
And it's still in coordination with what's going on over there on that other book, on the other panel. So you've got all these different things all going on at once. But you've got to understand each one of the symbols and then coordinate them with the light on each one of the things as you're going.
Right.
That's why I've got Ryan here filming them all so carefully and timing them all so carefully.
We were here last winter, and there's cloud cover.
Yeah.
So we didn't get everything we were looking for last year. So we're trying again. So we get one shot every 6 months to get this.
We begin rolling on the times Paul has logged as the beginning of each light show. After several hours, we get the shots. The procession of light goes fast on some panels and takes over an hour on others. While talking amongst ourselves, I look over and suddenly notice that the figure of the flying serpent is just taking shape.
Look at it right now. It's the
Right there, yeah, right there.
That's-
The
that's-
Quetzalcoatl flying.
that's Quetzalcoatl. You have the
Flying
the
serpent.
head at the top there. And then the time coil goes through his belly, and then down at the bottom there's that little upside down U shape. Could be a rattle. So
It's just passing it now.
and then you see off of the left side there that wing that comes down, and one feather's draped over this figure right here, as if he has the ability to carry him up with him. This imagery of Quetzalcoatl, of a flying serpent, is nothing new. It's all over the Americas. The place it also shows up is in the Old Testament, as recorded by Isaiah, which was also quoted by Nephi in his record. Rejoice not, thou whole Palestina, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent.
Seeing the flying serpent take shape and ascend upwards is a moving experience. The ancients who created this are reaching out across the ages and telling us a story from their time. But what is that story? Is it a story about Quetzalcoatl? Is it a story about a visitation from Christ? To find out, I process all the time-lapse footage and sync it all together and sit down with Paul and Patricia to analyze it. We just finished filming the Anasazi Ridge panels with time-lapse cameras. I sync all the footage together so we can watch each panel simultaneously for the first time.
So this is 2 hours condensed into, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes.
There.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
It's right on the edge.
8:31. Yeah. Okay.
The first light to appear is on the marker stone. This light appears and touches a symbol which marks the beginning of the story.
You're going to see it drop down, and you see that it's, even though it looks like it's coming between the two, it's actually going to touch the lower one first.
Okay, this right here.
Yeah, right there. Mm-hmm. Boom. And that should start 8:37.
The first light to appear is on the marker stone. Some say it's a shaft of light, others say there might be more to it, that it resembles a finger lighting upon it.
And that's really where I'm coming with all of these, is that this looks like a finger of light. On the equinox, you get this light that starts out kind of a cone shape, and you get this real cone shape of light, and then all suddenly out of that cone comes a finger, and it just touches the emblem and then keeps going. So you really get this finger of light.
In Paul's search for an explanation of why a finger of light is used to mark the beginning of the story, he came across something from the Book of Mormon, a story about a finger that touched upon a stone to illuminate it, prior to the revelation of a magnificent vision.
And what I wonder about with that, and what I've wondered about with that, with each one of those, is that, the old brother of Jared story with the stone. And,
Yeah,
they've built it,
Where
and they've
all
got
he saw was the finger at first.
where all he saw was the finger of God.
Yeah, because if you read the text in the book of Ether, the brother of Jared sees God, sees all of them, has a miraculous vision, but it's not described. The only thing
Yeah.
that describes the physical representation of God is a finger.
Yeah, he sees the finger of
And
God
we don't
touch
have
the
rest
stones.
of the story.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
And then see over on the back panel of the hero shaman, when it looks like a finger that comes down
That
over
comes
that
down.
and then comes across the shaman seat.
Seat and touches
And
the
if you
shaman
look at
seat.
that, it looks
And that's
like
also
a
what
finger that
comes
comes
that's
down.
also what comes through you is the finger of God.
This idea about the finger of light which touches the stone, representing the finger of God touching the stone that the brother of Jared experienced, is interesting but speculation. What isn't speculation is what happens next. Okay, once the first light is lit on the marker stone, then you jump over here, and this is a shaman seat. This is where a shaman would have sat when the show begins, when this light show begins. And what would happen is the shaft of light would appear, come through that notch up there, and envelop the person sitting in here until it comes down through their head, through their body, until they're completely engulfed in light, right in front of these panels. The first time I was able to witness this event was on the summer solstice. I had scouts stand in place to capture the light descending upon her.
It is 8:37. Okay, and then the lights covered all of you by 8:37. You can close your eyes if you want. I think that's the point. You're supposed to close your eyes, maybe meditate.
At first we speculated that the seat served as a podium of sorts, while the story in front of the shaman revealed itself. But as the light descended upon Scout, it became apparent that that probably wasn't the purpose of this seat.
So maybe this isn't where they tell the story from, because they wouldn't be able to see anything with the sun in their face, probably. So this
I
wasn't.
definitely can't say anything.
Yeah, she can't see anything. So this isn't probably where they recite the saga, but maybe it's like the meditation seat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good job. You're fully engulfed in light now.
And
And now you're ready to recite the entire saga of the story. You ready? You got it rehearsed?
baby.
Maybe. Okay, you can get up. Thanks.
The finger of light that touches upon the marker stone and then touches upon the person sitting in this shaman seat is no coincidence. They happen simultaneously. This marks the beginning of the story, which only happens once a year on the summer solstice. As the first event in this light procession story, it seems to be setting a tone of reverence and sacredness for what is to follow.
So I've always said it looks like to me, physically when I'm there, and Patricia agrees, and other people that I've asked, I say, well, what do you think? What do you think that looks like? And they'll say, it looks like a finger of light touching it. And as soon as I hear people say the finger of light, then I think of, well, yeah, it's the hand of God touching it. And another reason that I say that is that to me, I had this discussion with one of the people that was there, who was non-LDS, and they were doing this. Well, why do people do this? Is it so that they understood when to plant their corn, when to do their crops, when to do this? And I'm like, absolutely not. They knew when to plant their corn. Ask any farmer, and any farmer doesn't need an almanac to tell them when to plant their corn. They've lived on the land long enough, they know when to plant their corn. It is something that is permanent. It is something that is always, Your crops may fail, your spouse may die, your house may catch fire and burn, the volcano may go off, there may be an earthquake. All those things are non-permanent. They're not dependable, but that it will always be there. You can depend on that light will always come through. Always, because irregardless of what else happens, on the 21st of June, that light's going to come down and it's going to touch that emblem, and it's going to start this process, and you're going to be able to read these stories. You're going to be able to tell what went on there. irregardless of what else happens, no matter who's king, no matter what happens, no matter who dies, no matter whether or not the crops have failed, that is going to occur. There's a permanence to it. You know what I mean? There's an absolute permanence to it, just like there's an absolute permanence to the love of God, to the, you know, to the promises made by God. You know, so that's what all of us are looking for, is that permanence.
Yeah.
You know.
Next time on Nephite Explorer, we continue our investigation on Anasazi Ridge as light moves through the other panels, illuminating a story that may be from the third book of Nephi. Join me next time in The Mystery of the Flying Serpent, Part 2.